So for you guys, obviously needs no introduction. This is Johnny of the Spirit Squad. Long-time friend of mine. I mean, he's only, he's got so much knowledge, and he giggles, and he's humble, and he comes in, and he's like, what do you want to do? I want you to have fun. I want you to tell these guys some knowledge. I mean, he's wrestled Kane and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, and I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome, right? Man's brain. Why don't you tell us a funny road story when you were brought up?
Funny road story. All right, well, there was one where Sinn and I, actually it was right after the Spirit Squad ended, and I had just gone back up on the road, and they changed my name. I was Jaden Jeter. I was trying to grow my hair long out. I was trying to get rid of the Spirit Squad gimmick and just kind of be single, because everyone else, you always imagine yourself a certain way, and when you're in the industry, you never know what gimmick you're going to get. So when you get called up, you just embrace it. You should never have an attitude where I don't want to do this isn't me. I would just do it, make the most of it, and after that you can always do whatever it is you want to do. So I got called up. I was Jaden Jeter. I was at ECW. I was kind of stoked to be doing that. Cena and Dinsmore, Eugene, him and I, we all used to ride together in the car. Cena was like, oh, hey man, you're back on the road, you got a rental car? I'm riding with you. So we end up, after the show was over, he's like, pull over to that 7-Eleven. I pull over, and we had a Hemi Dodge Charger on the way. I don't know how I got that car, but I'm sorry I did. So he goes in the 7-Eleven, he gets one of those styrofoam coolers, puts ice in it, buys like a 24-pack of beer. He's like, you're driving, I'm drinking. So we put it in the back, and he goes in the front seat, he starts drinking. I think we're in the Carolinas. So as we're driving, of course, he's drinking and he has to pee. So he's like, I gotta pee, pull over. It's like 1 a.m. We pull off this exit, and there's a little kind of liquor store, but it's closed. And it's like a little dirt, parking lot. So I pull in there and stop, and he gets out and he pees, and I'm checking my phone. And so then he comes back in, and he just kind of stares for a second, and he just looks at me and just goes, you want to learn to do 180s? I was like, okay. So he teaches me how to pop the clutch, this and that. I floor it. Car does a huge 180. Smoke goes everywhere. We're just laughing and looking like schoolgirls, having a great time. Let's do 360s. All of a sudden, right as he says that, we kind of look in the median of the road and we see a cop parked, just watching us. This is gonna be too bad. So he's like, don't worry, I got this. And he's already had like 6 or 7 years. I've seen it. Anyway, so we pull over. As soon as we pull out, pull over, cop comes over, license and registration. I start kind of pulling my stuff out, and Cena's grabbing his stuff. So as I hand my stuff to the cop, Cena grabs his stuff and hands it to the cop. The cop's like, thanks. He's looking at it and he's like, he goes, what were you guys doing? Cena, before I can even talk, Cena's like, oh, we're WWE wrestlers, you might recognize, I'm John Cena, but, we're driving from Raleigh to Charlotte, and, we're driving from Raleigh to Charlotte, we got like a 300-mile or 290-mile drive. He's like, we're just trying to kill the monotony of the highway by doing some 180s and 360s. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, no 450s? Yeah, no 450s. He's like, I appreciate your honesty. He's like, any outstanding tickets or warrants? Before I can even answer, Cena's like, he doesn't have any. I have enough to where if I get pulled over again, I'm going to jail next week. And the cop's like, really? He's like, any alcohol or beer in the car? And before I can even answer, Cena's just like, yes, he hasn't been drinking. I've been drinking enough to kill a smaller. The cop again, I appreciate your honesty. He's like, tell you what, I'm gonna go see if your license is clear, and if it is, I'll let you guys go. So then he went to his car, came back. I didn't have any tickets at the time. everything's fine now, you know, so he let us go. And with 24 beers in our car, him drunk in the skunk, he let us go. And everything was
Right.
Always patient. Sometimes come over just to see what's going on.
But you owned it. That's the thing. You gotta own it, people. Listen, you people, these wrestlers that are too. I'm sorry, can I be?
Yeah, you can heel on it. You're a villain. You can be a villain.
No, because I know you're recording.
Yeah. Hey, we can cuss. We can say.
Okay, you people who are afraid to medicate and you know that it helps you and you're too scared to because I'm hearing that they're blah 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 blah. See, you just gotta own it. You be nice and discreet. You don't make a big deal because it is just medicating. We're not partying yet. Maybe it helps your match out. So, like Cena, I know you guys were not really. I'm just saying, like, look, if there's a situation where that's worse than if you got caught just like sitting in the car medicating, because you were like doing so, and he was drinking. But yet,
She packs up.
but because Cena already knew his role, because he said, I'm drinking, you're driving. He knew what was up. He was very prepared. So these little promoters that are all scared or whatever, just be respectful of your car far away, but stop being scared because it's messing up your vibe and your matches.
If you guys figure out how to be something special, nobody can take that away from you. I mean, that's not even a wrestler thing. That's like Steve Martin, you know. He wasn't denied. He's like, I'm that damn good. I'm not going to be denied. If you walk into a room like Ric Flair walks into a room, he doesn't need to carry a snake like Jake the Snake. He's got blonde hair. You know, Boogeyman's got his worms. Everybody's got just some kind of X factor, and it doesn't need to be flashy or over the top. It just needs to be something. You need just to have that kind of cool aura about you. You just need to own what you are, and you need to decide, well, okay, if I'm this chubby guy, I'm probably not going to be like a Calvin Klein model-looking wrestler. Or if I'm a little frumpy little guy, I'm probably not going to be this big ass-kicking wrestler. I should be like this little silly roly-poly basketball guy. If I'm built like Hornswoggle, I shouldn't be, I don't know, Rick Rude. You know, like just humbly look at yourself. Like I remember a car story I was driving across. I don't know why they booked this. It was one of the SmackDown loops we were doing, and I was on Khalid. I mean, yeah. So I get to drive Khalid around because he can't drive, and so there's a carnival freak driving a 7'5" East Indian dude, and then I've got Jesse and Festus in the back seat. So I've got a banjo-playing midget, I've got a catatonic monster, I've got a 7'5" giant, carnival freak giant, and we flew into like Cornwall or something, and we were doing some shows in Montreal, and we crossed over in like Vermont to this like whatever a ferry boat over into like Vermont or whatever. And when we crossed the border, they pulled us right in, and we're like, what do we do? What do we do? You know, we honest, we shouldn't have to do that. And everybody's like, it's cool. And I look at Festus, he's like, and so I'm like, just trying to own it, like being cool. Like I don't want to like, put on my scared poker face. I want to be a cool poker face, but let them know that, hey, we got a high poker friend. Hey guys, what's up? What's going on? And they kind of looked inside, and they realized like that we were a bunch of silly, crazy wrestlers. We just want to pull you over and can we take some autographs and pictures and stuff? And we were like, yeah, sure. And my colleague's like, oh, you go. Yeah, he's cool. He always asked me the silliest like questions. Like I'd always go up to the ring and do all this stuff, and he'd be like, why are you screaming? Why not, man? Yeah. How'd you get so tall to see chicken? So I know that's a completely ridiculous tangent, but all these characters are so specific. Like, if you took like a little clean-cut wrestler that can do cool high-flying moves, and that's it. Well, he needs to do that for him to get over. But once he's 40 or 50 or something, or if he blows out a knee or does this or does that, you can't do that move anymore. But you could put Hulk Hogan in a Walmart jersey, and he looks like a superhero in a Walmart jersey. Or you could put this really clean-cut, boring little wrestler in a Walmart jersey, and he looks like a guy that works at Walmart. You see the difference between being special and being unique? Like, well, we can all do cool moves, but why do we want to book her? Or why do we want to book him? Or why do we want to book this guy and not this guy? Or why do we forget this person and remember that guy? So you need to sort of really internalize and look at yourselves, humbly go, okay, these are my strengths. This is how I am my strengths. These are my weaknesses. These are how I really hide my weaknesses. And that's sort of the name of the game. This is all smoke and mirrors what we do. So we need to be special and be those characters that people get invested in. And then we can tell all the crazy stories ever. I mean, we wrestled at Chikara not too long ago. I had me and a couple of Carnival Freaks against 3 of the Spirit Squad guys.
I haven't been in the league since like 2008.
That was totally, yeah, it was super crazy fun because like we didn't kill each other, but we put out. We didn't work lazy. I never worked lazy. He never worked lazy. We never we all do what we need to do, but we understood the weapons we had to wield. We understood our gimmicks. We understood time to sell. We understood what we were selling, whether we were doing something funny or something serious, because I think selling is sort of the explanation to the fans of what the move is. If you're doing 20 moves in a match, why would you not sell 20 different ways? Fans have a disconnect with the moves, and so that's why. So why does indie wrestlers want to do 5 million moves that the fans don't understand? Fans don't know what it's like to get frog splashed or suplexed or whatever. But they know that they pop on chops because they've been slapped in a bar. They can make that, it makes noise, it hurts, it's stingy, this or that, or they've been punched, or they can, understand a sleeper hold or something because they've been choked, or they passed out, or they swallowed something and they couldn't breathe for a minute, or whatever. So those real life nuances you need to figure out how to bring in the ring. Like if I'm getting choked, I'm gonna damn near have my eyes popping out so I can, convey, and I'm dry heaving so like people go, oh, I don't understand maybe what that last wrestling move was, but I understand not being able to breathe or, gasping for air or whatever.
One thing I remember I was told really early on in Ohio Valley, and I don't know I don't know if anyone else ever heard this before, but I remember when I first started, and I hate saying it, I was a huge Shawn Michaels mark, and even Jeff Hardy, I loved Jeff Hardy at the time, and I think, you get in there, and there's everyone has their favorite wrestlers, and you get in there, and maybe you mimic them sometimes, or maybe you do, you kind of adopt some of their moves or style, but you don't want to be a clone of them, and I was that initially when I first started. I was 19, I didn't know any better, and I was still trying to find myself. But I think it was Dinsmore, or maybe it was even Danny Davis that said something to me. They said, he's like, who's 4 of your favorite wrestlers? I said Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Jeff Hardy, and Macho. But I don't think I said Macho. And he said, all right, man, now tell me one thing about each of those guys that you like. And I said, well, man, I love Shawn Michaels' charisma, man. His entrance was just so sick. I don't know how many times, who hasn't imagined himself coming to down from the rapids for WrestleMania, I love Shawn Michaels' charisma. I love Jericho's ring style. I love the way Jeff Hardy sold and got beat up. And I loved Chris Benoit's intensity. And so he's like, all right, I take each one of those things, make it you. And so that it's almost like you develop your own ring style now because you're different. You took something from each person that you like, and it's not difficult because they're your favorites. Yeah.
What's cool about that too is, I know for me, from being the fan to a training wrestler to independence, to the whole thing, it's like I became fans of people, like maybe when I was a kid or younger, or a little bit older, like in the 90s, there were certain wrestlers that really inspired me, and that helped me when I went to training at first. And then when I started training and looking at wrestling differently, it's like those inspirations evolved, and it's how I evolved with my career. Those people did, and because of those, me studying those different people, it was almost like I got to, like you're saying, pick and choose, and really understand how to make that blend. And I think that's why it's important to talk about it, because it's easy for us to sit up here and say it, but it took me many years to finally get the blend. But, it was all that preparation. And I don't think people ever bring that up, really, ever.
I think sometimes a lot of old school guys, they don't want to divulge that knowledge. I think these days it's sort of a different landscape. I think, we all had to hunt and pay crazy dues and this and that. I remember, sleeping in my car in the winters of Detroit and kicking open the door because I was frozen over. I slept in a sleeping bag and stuff. And then so I kind of giggle when I hear guys go, I don't want to drive to a show, it's like an hour away. Like I drove 20 hours to a show, regularly.
10 months, I even made it.
Yeah. And, or you're sick or you're injured or what have you. I remember wrestling for Lawler one time, and I was dog sick, but I just went and promised I'd be there or whatever. And we did like 2 TV tapings in the morning at the Memphis studio, and then we did an afternoon show. And then we did the Coliseum, so I'm marking out. I'm like, I'm not going to not make it to the Coliseum. I'm going to be the best. My name's on the lights inside that Coliseum. The same ring that Andre was in, the same ring that Andy Kaufman was in. I'm going to fucking be. And I'm just dying. I'm like, I tried. In my head, that's how it was. But it, in my delivery, I was insane, crazy, whatever. And I remember riding a lot with Kid Cash, and we were cheapskates. Like we would if we ever got a hotel room, it was because there was 4 of us or something. Yeah, otherwise if it was 2 of us, well, we had 2 seats in the front seat of our car, we just crash out like that. And so he's like, man, you want to splurge and get a room? I'm like, fuck, let's get a room. And he was like, are you okay, man? I'm like, well, I was like, no, but why are you going to ask? And he was like, you never get a room, you cheap motherfucker. So I'm like, yeah, let's get a room. And that was the next day, I was working for Dick the Bruiser like 10 hours. And it was the first time ever, and I think I maybe missed in 15 years of wrestling, I maybe missed 3 bookings ever. And I called Dick the Bruiser and I was like, dude, I'm fucking dying. I don't just have sniffles or something like I feel like death. If you don't need me, if you do need me, I will be there. If you don't need me, can I just go die someplace? He's like, all right, kid, do your thing, whatever. I drove back. I was in my gimmick the whole night from the night before. That's how gross I felt. I just didn't have the energy to take off.
Yeah.
My spandex. I went back to. I drove from Memphis to Huntsville, Alabama, where I was staying at the time. And the girl that I was with, she's like, you gotta go to the hospital. I'm like, fuck that. Let's go to the hospital. She's like, just go for it. You're done. I show up in my spandex, in my silly shit. They took X-rays to do all this stuff. They're like, have you been lying in bed for like a week? What's going on? I'm like, no, I rested 5 times yesterday. She's like, well, I don't know how you're not dead because your lungs were filled with this black rings and you got like double pneumonia, double bronchitis. You had coughed up that stuff. One more tear, you would have just drowned in your own blood, tore your lungs and died. I'm like, awesome. Can I go home now?
Because you're a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, we're acclimated to drive ourselves on passion, and we're not tenderfoot. We do what we do out of love. You can't do what we do. We can't get slammed by Kane and get up the next day unless you love this shit. You won't get up.
True enough. And you know what's interesting though is those stories when you hear about people saying, oh, well, I slept in my car, like really, and like things like that, like hello, because we all know, right? You just push through, you push through. And I feel that wrestling has brought me to have to push myself to those limits, which didn't help me in my personal life and as a human being. But it's also something that, yeah, you should experience, but like, don't be like this guy. If that girl didn't tell you, then what? So I feel that there's got to be this fine line of that sacrifice of doing what we love, right? Because we got to feel those things to like want to continue. Because sometimes there's bad times. Sure. But we gotta take care of our bodies because when wrestling's gone, what are you gonna do? You could have been gone.
I could have been gone, but the savvier we get, the more we learn, the more we appreciate, and the more, like she's saying, it's like we have to be smart and figure out how to not just kill ourselves to entertain the fans. We gotta entertain the fans. Whether we're teasing, we're gonna kill ourselves, but we don't. But whatever we're doing, whatever the stories are. That's the goal, that's the magic, that's the gag, as we say. Incidentally, I went home from the doctors, I stayed in my spandex, I slept for 3 days straight in some kind of weird zombie mode. I woke up in the same spandex and drove to Nashville.
Of course you did.
Yeah!
Of course he did! Of course he did!
Let's bring out another awesome dude. I mean, he's so cool, he can do stuff like I've never seen any other human being do. Let's see what kind of music he gets played when he comes out here.
It's Luke tonight.
Yeah, it's Luke tonight. Let's bring out the Prince of Parkour. Let's bring out John Morrison.